All right, hey guys, it's Mason from Fantasy Rate here to bring you some Week 14 waiver wire pickups. Hope everyone had a good fantasy week for Week 13 because I know I sure did not. At least my Niners got the win for me, making not a terrible weekend. But let's get straight into this week's picks. To get into the first division, as we always start, we're going to start with QBs. Now, there's only one really QB that I'm targeting in one QB leagues, and it's Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco's only rostered in about 7% of leagues right now. He had a solid week. His first time being under center for the Cleveland Browns. Produced 254 passing yards, 2 TDs, and only one interception, which ended him up as QB 13 for the week. And that's pretty solid. Nothing to go crazy over, just a solid production week. And the best part about Flacco's schedule for the next 3 weeks is all three of the teams that he are playing. They give up the top 10 most points to quarterbacks out of any teams in the league. Those teams are the Jags, Bears, and Texans. It's a really good end of season schedule for Joe Flacco. So, if you're stuck in that streaming option, I think Flacco is a great pick just because the schedule's so easy and he'd already proved that he can put up the numbers to give you a solid enough of a fantasy game, the quarterback position. And then I have a couple honorable mentions for QB, not guys that I'm targeting in one QB, Superflex, 2 QB leagues only. And they're only really getting mentioned because the team's starting QBs did get hurt. And these guys are Mitch Trubisky, CJ Beathard, and Jameis Winston. Obviously, Mitch Trubisky came in. Kenny Pickett suffered the ankle injury, I believe it was. Trubisky came in, didn't really do much. He's probably the least I'm confident out of these three if I got to get any of these three. Then CJ Beathard, if it is looking like, the report's still new off of what's happening with T-Law's ankle injury. So we'll have to see what's going on there. But if CJ does start next week out of these three, he'd be the more one that I'd be targeting. And then Jameis Winston, he might actually be able to start for a couple weeks. Carr picked up a concussion and a shoulder injury, which, just is not good. Carr's been dealing with that shoulder all year. Winston could really come in, actually be the starting QB for a couple weeks. And then for RBs, first one I'm going to talk about, and it's definitely the one I'm targeting the most, is Ezekiel Elliott. He came in last week. Obviously we've seen throughout the season him get more workload, but his workload massively increased due to Ramondre Stevenson going out. Ramondre is listed as questionable right now, but there has been reports looking like he might miss a couple of games. And so, if he misses a couple games, that team does not really have any running backs besides Zeke. And as far as depth goes, they don't really have anyone else to throw in there. I think JaMychal Hasty might be the next one, or I might be wrong about that. But Zeke, he's had the touchdown upside all year, and now he has the touchdown upside plus the workload advantage. Obviously, Patriots need to get to the red zone for Zeke to score, but that doesn't happen as much as we think. But Zeke is the red zone guy for that team. And then second one, I'm going to be doing Chase Brown. He actually got a lot more workload tonight against the Jags. Got 9 carries, which is his most of the season, compared to, I think, his highest before that was 2 carries per season. It's a good sign. Rookie finally getting some touches. Might mean that he might be getting work more into the backfield. Obviously, that team's without Joe Burrow now. So the run might be more their game plan going forward and might not be a very pass-heavy team. And so Chase Brown, if he's the number 2 in a team that turns into a run-heavy offense, I'm all for it. Taking a risk if I got the spots for him and I need to pick up a running back, hoping one that could somehow show up during the playoff run. His schedule isn't the best going forward. Next week he does have Indy, which Indy is a good matchup for running backs. Besides that, he's got Minnesota, Pittsburgh, which Minnesota isn't the best, not the worst, and then Pittsburgh's Pittsburgh. So, good week to prove himself next week, and then after that, we'll see how we can process. Is Chase Brown really a guy that you should have on your roster? And the third one, last running back I'm going to be talking about. This is a guy I'm not going for at all unless it's in a league that I'm desperate for a running back, and it is DJ Dallas. Dallas could potentially be the starter for this Seattle Seahawks. We have Kenneth Walker dealing with the oblique injury. I don't think he practiced today as Monday, and it's looking like he might be missing the week as well. And then Zach Charbonnet, he got I think it was a bruised knee injury. He's also looking like he might not be playing. So, I mean, if either one of them don't play, DJ Dallas seems like he will be the guy going forward. Obviously, Kenny McIntosh could interfere a little bit there too, which is even more reason to not really go after DJ Dallas. He's going up against the Niners defense. This picking up DJ Dallas, it's really a 1 week pick if you're playing him. Because Charbonnet or Kenneth Walker or both of them will be back for sure, probably the next week after. But yeah, I mean, even this week, if one of them is back, even just one of them, not both of them, I will avoid DJ Dallas at all costs. But there is a little, if he is the leading running back, there could be something that happens, but against a tough defense, I'm not seeing a ton of it. If you're desperate for running backs, it's worth a shot. And then switch to wide receivers. I've been waiting for him to start producing well, and it's Jonathan Mingo. 2 weeks in a row, he's put over 10 points. Jonathan Mingo obviously had a very slow start, where he got cut from most teams. If people were drafting him late in startup drafts, he's now cut from most of those rosters. But he's had a solid, respectable past 2 weeks. And something that a lot of people actually don't know is that there's only been 2 weeks of the entire season where Jonathan Mingo has gotten under 6 targets. At the beginning of the season, it just wasn't hitting. Bryce wasn't hitting his throws. Bryce is starting to hit his throws a little more. Mingo's starting to put up actual valuable numbers. Maybe take him, if you got the depth for it, maybe pick him up, have him as a bench spot for the playoff run, wide receiver 4 or 5. If he keeps this momentum, keeps improving, he could find his way into your starting lineup in a couple weeks. He does have a rough playoff schedule though for wide receivers in fantasy. He is the next 3 weeks. He does have New Orleans, Atlanta, Green Bay. None of those are good matchups for receivers, so I'm a little worried about that. But there is a lot of upside in this Mingo pick with seems that him and Bryce are improving at least a little, and Adam Thielen is being used way less. And then next guys, it's 2 guys I'm going to be talking about, Noah Brown and Robert Woods. Obviously Tank Dell got put on the IR, broke his fibula, I believe it was. CJ Stroud's been electric, and it's a very pass-based offense. That's what we see. Not a single receiver besides Nico Collins got more than 1 catch, so it was really hard to kind of tell who's going to be the guy going forward. Noah Brown's had some more explosive games, but Robert Woods is the vet that he'll provide enough for that offense to where I think CJ will like him. They're not that hard. I mean, Robert Woods is only 14% rostered, I believe. Noah Brown's 49%. Robert Woods is an easy one. I think he's going to have a higher floor, lower ceiling, while Noah Brown is lower floor, higher ceiling. I'm personally going after Robert Woods if I'm looking for the more consistent guy. Noah Brown, if you need some points, if your team's not able to compete with the top dogs and you need a receiver out of those 2. And the last receiver is going to be Zay Jones. This is going after the Christian Kirk injury that happened against Bengals on Monday night. Christian Kirk got hurt the first play. I believe Zay Jones, the first play of offense for the Jags. Kirk got hurt, but Zay Jones, I believe, finished with 12.8, playing the whole game pretty much without Kirk. That's decent production. Game plan was not built around him, so maybe in this off week. Maybe during the week that they, work more into Zay into the game plan. Washington, the rookie, he came in, had a solid game, but I don't think that's going to be something that we're going to be seeing next week. I think it was just one big week for Parker Washington. I think Zay Jones is actually going to be able to be plugged into lineups, especially if T-Law is healthy. If T-Law's not there, it is a little more risky, but I think CJ Beathard could even produce enough to make Zay Jones still viable. And the last guy we're talking about, it's going to be Gerald Everett. Gerald Everett has been a very solid tight end when he's actually been healthy. And honestly, his matchup next week is against Denver, which I will say, Denver is one of the highest. They give up probably, I think it's the most points to tight ends. It's one of the top 3. I know that for sure. Let's show, it's just a good matchup. If a team gives up a lot of points to tight end, it's hard to argue that to not start the tight end who's playing against him. And honestly, he has only played a full 4 games since week 6, but finished as top 12 tight end 3 out of the 4 weeks. And the weeks that out of those 4 that he didn't, he was tight end 14. So he's still producing when he's actually playing. I think Everett is a guy who, if I got him and, I'm starting Everett if I can with this matchup. I think it's a great one. Yeah, I mean, that's all I got to say really for today. Thanks for watching. I know it wasn't the biggest schedule or biggest list of waiver pickups, but I hope everyone has a good week 14. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't, and have a good one.